Okay, hi. So far we have looked linear equations and quadratic equations. So now we're going to talk about equations that are neither linear nor quadratic. So we just define some other type of equations. So we're going to do some exercises on that. And let's start with, suppose you have 3x to the 4th is equal to 27x squared, and find x. So best thing to do is set the entire equation equal to 0. So move 27 to this side. So you have 3x to the 4th minus 27x to the 2nd is equal to 0. Then, you can go ahead and do the factorization process. By now you are an expert. Find the greatest common factor between 3 and 27. It is 3. Between x4 and x squared is x squared. And what is left is x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. Now what this means is either 3x squared is equal to 0 or x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. For this to become 0, x has to equal to 0. And for this to equal to 0, now this is what? The difference of two squares. So you have what? X minus 3 and x plus 3 is equal to 0. And then if you go ahead and solve this, now you have what? X is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 3. Now the answer would give you negative 3, 0, and 3. Just a note on this one. Our leading polynomial has a degree of 4, so we are expecting how many solutions? 4 solutions. And it is 4 solutions because x is repeating itself. So meaning what? If you draw the graph of this, it crosses the x-axis at x is equal to 0 twice. So even though we have 0 is repeating itself, so we have 4 solutions. Okay. Now, let's do factoring. So suppose you have x cubed plus x squared is equal to 4x plus 4. Again, the ideal thing to do is set the entire expression equal to 0. So you have x cubed plus x squared minus 4x minus 4 is equal to 0. And let's go ahead and use grouping because we have 4 terms. So go ahead and find the factor of x cubed and x squared is x squared, so you end up with x plus 1, right? And take minus 4 as your factor. So if you do that, then you end up with x plus 1 is equal to 0. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. This is x squared minus 4 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. I'm going to jump a few steps because by now you are an expert. X squared minus 4 is the difference of two squares. So this would be x minus 2, x plus 2, x plus 1 is equal to 0. And if we solve each expression of x minus 2 is equal to 0 gives us x has to equal to 2. If x plus 2 is 0, then x has to equal to negative 2. And the same also negative 1. So you have negative 1, negative 2, and 2 are the solutions of your equation. Again, what we mean by solutions are the x-intercepts. Right? Okay, so let's do another one. And now solving a radical equation. Okay, let's start with the square root of 2x minus 1 plus 2 is equal to x. This, you don't have to set the entire expression equal to 0. In fact, it's not a good idea to do that, because mind you, the radical and the 2 and the x are completely different entities in their own rights. So move 2 to the other side. So you would have the square root of 2x minus 1 is equal to x minus 2 if you move 2 to the other side. Then what you need to do is, I got to get rid of this radical. So one way of doing that is just square it. Now, if you square the square root of 2x minus 1, you end up with 2x minus 1. That's what we want. We got it out of the radical. But this is a perfect square. So this is x squared. And if you do x minus 2 times x minus 2, you would end up x squared minus 4x plus 4. Now these are like terms. Now we can set the entire thing equal to 0. So if you move minus 2x to this side and plus 1, look what you end up. You end up with x squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. Now you end up with a trinomial. So let's go ahead and look for two numbers. If we multiply, we get 5, positive 5, and if we add them, we get negative 6. So it is negative 5 and negative 1, because negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5, and if you add them, you're going to get 6. So let me put x minus 5, x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay? Meaning what? I'm doing this, x squared minus 5x minus x plus 5, right? So if you do that, you're going to end up with x minus 5 and x minus 1. So if you do that, if x minus 5 is equal to 0, x is equal to 5, or x is equal to 1. Now, I cannot submit this as my answer, because I have to test this, because I reshaped the equation from the radical to non-radical. So I have to make sure that this value of x, these two values of x, match with my original equation. So if it is true. So suppose, let's say x is equal to 5. So I have 2 times 5 minus 1 plus 2 has to equal to 5. Otherwise, x is equal to 5 would not be my solution. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. So this is the square root of 9 plus 2 is 5. The square root of 9 is 3. And 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Indeed, x is equal to 5 is my solution. I'm going to do the same thing for x is equal to 1. I can't take this for granted. So let me do 2 times 1 minus 1 plus 2 is equal to 1. But 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this is the square root of 1 plus 2 is equal to 1. But the square root of 1 is 1. 1 plus 2 is not equal to 1. Even though x is equal, we got x is equal to 1 as our solution. So the only solution you're going to write for this is x is equal to 5. That's the only value that works for the equation. Okay? We're going to do a couple of exercises involving radical equations, because that's the one which gives some a little bit problem. Okay? But it's a process, so it's not going to be that difficult. Suppose, let's say, the square root of 3x plus 1 minus the square root of x plus 4 is equal to 1. Here we have to do some kind of creativity. We cannot square this thing entirely because it's going to be messy. You can try, but you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So instead of doing that, I'm going to write the square root of 3x plus 1 is equal to, I'm going to move minus the square root of x plus 4 to the other side. It becomes x plus 4, the square root of x plus 4. So it becomes the square root of x plus 4 plus 1. This is much easier to solve rather than in that format. Now let me do what? Let me square this. Okay. This one is quite easy. It's very straightforward. You're going to do 3x plus 1. Okay, is equal to. Now look at this one. I'm going to expand this. And I'm going to fold. So this is the square root of x plus 4 plus 1 times the square root of x plus 4 plus 1. Mind you, these two are distinct. One is a radical, the other one is not. So go ahead and do the FOIL. Square root of x plus 4 times the square root of x plus 4 is x plus 4 because you are squaring it. Okay, plus, now the square root of x plus 4 times 1 is 1 times the square root of x plus 4. And look at the middle. So if you go ahead and distribute 1, you're going to get another 1 to the square root of x plus 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. Okay? Now let's simplify this. So this is x plus 4. We have 2 of them. So 2 to the square root of x plus 4 plus 1. Okay. Again, let's simplify this. Look, I have 4 here, I have 1 here. So I can simply say x plus 5, right? Plus 2 to the square root of x plus 4. That is equal to 3x plus 1. Okay? We're almost there. Now move x plus 5 to this side, meaning what? You are taking minus x and minus 5. So minus x and minus 5, right? So this will give us 2x minus 4, right? And that is equal to 2 to the square root of x plus 4. Again, because we have a radical, again we have to square this. So 2x minus 4 squared and 2 to the square root of x plus 4 squared, right? So this one would give us, if we do that, 2x squared would give us 4x squared. And then if you multiply 2x times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. So you're going to end up with negative 16x if you foil this. And negative 4 squared, of course, gives us 16. Right? Now, if I do the same, we have what? 2 squared is 4. And you know the square root of x plus 4 is just x plus 4. Don't forget to distribute 4 to everything inside. So you have 4x squared minus 16x plus 16 is 4x plus 16. Now, let me wipe this out. Let me rewrite this. So if you move minus 4x, minus 4x, minus 16, and minus 16, then you end up with 4x squared minus 20x, and 16 and negative 16 cancel out, and this entire thing becomes 0. So we end up with 4x squared minus 20x is equal to 0. Now you know how to do this. Take 4x out. and what is left is x minus 5 is equal to 0, right? Then this means what? 4x is equal to 0, or x minus 5 is equal to 0, then x is equal to 0, or x is equal to 5. So you have two values, 0 and 5. Now what you need to do is go ahead and plug in into your original equation. So if x is 0, then you have 3 times 0 is 0. So you end up with the square root of 1 minus 0 plus 4 is 4. The square root of 4 is equal to 1. You know the square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 4 is 2. But 1 minus 2 is not 1. So 0 is not one of the solutions. Let's go ahead and plug in 5. And let's see what we can come up with. If you plug 5, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. So you have the square root of 16 minus, and 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay. Now the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 9 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. You know 5 is the solution and not 0. Okay. Let me do one more, and probably suppose you have x to the 4th minus 8x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. You know, at face value, this looks like a trinomial, but it is not a trinomial because the degree is 4. A trinomial has to have a degree of 2. So we cannot treat it as a trinomial yet. But we could do what we call method of substitution. So I want to change this one into something squared, not something to the power of 4. So I can do this. So I would say let u is equal to x squared. If I say that, then u squared is x squared squared, which is x to the 4. Then I'm going to substitute. Instead of my x, I'm going to substitute to u. But later on, I'll revert back to my value of x because that's what I'm looking for. And now also, you are expecting how many solutions? 4 solutions. So I'm going to rewrite this in terms of u. So this would be u squared minus 8u minus 9 is equal to 0. Now it is a trinomial. I can factor this. Talk to me. So 2 numbers multiplied will give us negative 9, and added will give us negative 8. You know the larger number has to be negative, so negative 9 and 1. So you have u minus 9 and u plus 1 is equal to 0. So if u minus 9 is equal to 0, then u has to equal to 9. And if u plus 1 is equal to 0, u has to equal to negative 1. Okay. Now, because u is x squared, and so meaning what? Instead of writing u, that means what? X squared is equal to 9, or x squared is equal to negative 1. If x squared is equal to 9, then x has to equal to plus or minus the square root of 9. Right? If x squared is equal to negative 1, then x has to equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 1. And you know, because we know about complex numbers, so this is what? Plus or minus I. So we have a solution. So this is x plus or minus 3. So your answer would be minus 3 3i and negative y. So you have two complex solutions and two real solutions. Let me do one more of this and then we can. Now, this is x squared minus 5 squared plus 3 times x squared minus 5 minus 10 is equal to 0. Again, let's use substitution because this one is x to the 4th. Now let u is equal to x squared minus 5, then u squared is x squared minus 5 squared. So I'm going to change this into u squared, then this becomes 3u minus 10 is equal to 0. Now it has become a trinomial. Two numbers multiplied will give us negative 10 and added will give us positive 3. So it would be u plus 5 and u minus 2, which is equal to 0. Then you go ahead and solve this. So this becomes u is negative 5 or u is equal to 2. My u is x squared minus 5, so I'm going to put x squared minus 5 is equal to negative 5 or x squared minus 5 is equal to 2. Then if you do that, x squared is equal to 0. If x squared minus 5 is minus 5, then you have x is equal to 0. This gives you x squared minus 5 is equal to 2, means x squared is 7, right? Then x would be what? The irrational numbers, plus or minus 7. Mind you, 0 is repeating itself twice, so you have negative the square root of 7, 0, the square root of 7, and you're done. Okay? I think we have exhausted other types of equations.